Great to have you with us. Now, in our first story, elections are currently ongoing at some electoral areas where polls were not held during the nationwide exercise on Tuesday. The nationwide electoral process was scheduled to take place on Tuesday, December 17, 2019, but some areas were unable to hold the polls due to various challenges. For some areas, images of candidates were wrongly placed on ballot papers, while others were unable to print ballot papers. We will cross over to some of our correspondents at some of these centers. But first, here's the Deputy Commissioner of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Eric Bosman-Asare, who still described the elections as a huge success.
In terms of observation, I think at the Commission's, let me say from the Commission's perspective, we believe it has gone very, very well. Because this, unlike presidential parliamentary elections where normally in a constituency we have 5 or 6 people contesting, for this particular elections, for each electoral area you have people who are contesting. So from the printing standpoint, you are looking at over 12,000 places for the candidates, and looking at it that comparing this to previous district assembly elections, almost all the electoral areas were able to get their materials on time, and based on the even the day of voting, we only heard of one particular polling station where some men had to take the ballot box. So based on that, we can clearly say that the elections went very, very well. From our side, we thought it was very, very successful. And if we were to rank ourselves, I think we'll give ourselves a major thumbs up.
Dr. Asare says yesterday's low turnout is because of the cancellation of the referendum.
In terms of turnout, you know, in Ghana, voting is not compulsory. People can decide whether to vote or not to vote. But we also suspect that along the line, the enthusiasm level went up. But when the referendum was cancelled, people were asking whether we were still going to have district-level elections, etc. So I believe for most people, they thought we were not going to have the election. But from our side, we did our best with publicity. Both most of your networks, Dome, Joy FM, Joy TV, etc. They did a lot of work for us. So, and comparing to previous elections, as you said, turnout has definitely been very, very encouraging. Because, you know, these are ordinary people in their electoral areas, in their communities. They will not be able to garner the publicity that is normally associated with a parliamentary candidate, a presidential candidate. So I think this is something we need a national discussion, a national debate on it to see how we can improve upon the turnout.
Now, we know that the polls at the Sokpayere electoral area in the Wa municipality of the Upper West region elections were cancelled because the officials did not have ballot papers. My colleague Rafiq Salam joins us from Wa. Rafiq, is the election ongoing? What can you report?
The election is not ongoing at a separate electoral area. I tried to speak to the regional director of the election in the Upper West region, Mr. Ali Osmanu Adamu, and he told me that the election is scheduled for tomorrow. What is happening is that they have printed the ballot box, the ballot paper, and so it will be airlifted to Tamale. Currently, as we speak, there's a vehicle from Wa at the Tamale airport waiting to pick the ballot papers at Wa. And so, according to the regional director of here, election will take place at separate electoral area tomorrow.
Now, we know that yesterday, at least 2 persons were attacked during the polls. Can you tell us more about that?
According to the police, they are denying that it was a part of the election. It could be described as a post-election violence, but 2 people had wounds. The first incident took place at Sunday morning in the heart of the one municipality located at the Insurance Road around 6:20 after counting was done at that particular electoral area. And the other incident took place at Dibili around a few minutes after 5 o'clock. And so for that one, they thought that there were some group of young men who went there to disturb the peace of the area, and the police moved in swiftly and then to quell the threat of these young men. And so the police are saying that investigation is ongoing. For now, they can report that it was related to the election.
Thank you very much, Rafiq Salam, for joining us with those updates. Let's listen to the Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Cerebral Kweku, who is asking people who feel their assembly members are not performing to trigger the constitutional provision that allows for recalling of non-performing assembly members. He spoke on PM Express on the JoyNews channel.
Yeah, I got a number of percent, 30% of signatures for the record
people
of the
electoral
area. Will go and do
30% of
voters. The registered voters.
Okay.
Yes, then we'll go, when we get that, and it is brought to the Electoral Commission. We'll look at it.
Oh, really?
Then, yes.
Yeah, so you take it to the Electoral Commission,
yes.
and then what will you do?
We'll do referendum.
I hope you are not going to recall your assembly member. The way you are serious about it.
There will be a referendum.
No, please repeat that.
Yeah, there will be a referendum.
It's good that you brought this up.
There will be a referendum about yes, 3 years and no. Do you agree that the assembly should be recalled or not? And we just imagine going through this process, and now first time for you, this particular electoral year, we are going to recall your assembly member
For non-performance.
For non-performance.
It's there. The provision is clear in law.
Which of them will be addressed?
So you can't be saddled with an inefficient assembly member for 4 years. No. There are checks and balances in the system, except that people are now aware of all these opportunities to put a check on the assembly member and the system.
Let's stay on issues of the district-level elections, but this time in the central region, where chiefs and people of Ekonfi Imuna in the Ekonfi district boycotted the district assembly and unit committee elections over what they term as bad roads in the area. The residents are also threatening not to take part in any election as they are yet to witness any developmental project. Richard Kojonyako is on the ground now and he joins us. Richard, you have been to the town. What's the general mood?
Well, the town folks are celebrating the success they chalked yesterday. They are patting themselves at the back for a human job, for the communal spirit they all exhibited in carrying out that activity they undertook yesterday. Immediately after that, they poured libation to thank the deities and the gods for supporting them throughout the cause. They said that they now have begun, or they are done with the test run of what they believe would be a very good opportunity for them to exhibit aim towards the campaign season in the 2020 election and then the election 2020. So they are very, very happy. Yesterday they danced to the postponement of the election in their place. They feel that it is one of the languages that politicians would understand, or those that are governing would understand. And so they are hopeful that their roads would be fixed for them before election 2020.
Persons who feel disenfranchised, are there no persons who wanted to vote and were denied the opportunity?
Well, the fact that they say they were unanimous in the action they took, the entire community took this action because whatever, the absence of the maintenance of the road, whatever happened also affected everyone in the community. So it was a community action they took. Yesterday I had the opportunity to speak with some of the aspirants who were able to take part in the election. They said that, they have to shout their personal ambitions to support the community action because everything that happened there also affected them as well. And so
you have just one.
Meanwhile, the CDD has urged institutions working on national elections to engage the public to increase their participation in district-level elections. Rhoda Osei Afo is the elections team lead at CDD.
People, when we talk about the district level elections and some of the issues we have, what really often stand out is the issue of public participation and the unfortunate apathy that we've seen so far. And so that is something that we were also keeping an eye on. As I speak, it's something that we are still getting information from observers because the closing of the polls, as we all know, ends at 5 p.m. And so getting some of those figures take a bit of time. But as soon as we have an idea of how things have gone regarding turnout, we will be able to share. But beyond turnout, as I was indicating earlier, there were issues about process. And I think generally, even though for most polling stations, in terms of opening, they were able to open on time, officials adhered to the principles and the protocols that they were required to abide by. You cannot also discount instances where there were some specific issues because with elections and for an environment like ours where elections can be quite competitive. You don't want to discount anything. You don't want to leave anything to chance. And every single polling station and every voter is important. So sometimes the percentages might seem small, but we also try to highlight them because we believe that every vote matters. And so, like I said, there were some areas which recorded some incidents. I think you even mentioned some instances where people had difficulty locating their names on the voter register. There were instances where for some electoral areas, the pictures of candidates were mixed up. In the central region, for instance, that one district that had this issue, pictures of candidates were mixed up, so eventually they couldn't really, they had to suspend voting. And other issues related to intimidation, harassment by some candidates, by their supporters, which were not good enough. Some people were actually, the security personnel on duty were able to even make some arrests of some people who tried to cause confusion. There were a few incidents where people tried to do double voting, and some of these issues that we noted.
Away from district-level elections, President Akufo-Addo has criticized the practice where judges deliver justice on the basis of decisions from lower courts and cites them as law. According to him, it's unacceptable for judges to cite no authority for their rulings and give orders without basis. The president made this known when he swore into office justices of the Superior Court.
The Constitution affirms that final judicial power in the state is vested solely in the judiciary and not in any other agency or organ of the state. The judiciary has exclusive jurisdiction in all matters of the breach of the law, civil and criminal, including matters relating to the interpretation and enforcement of the Constitution. It has thus onerous responsibilities to protect the individual liberties and fundamental human rights of citizens, to act as the arbiter in disputes between the state and the citizen, to act as the arbiter in disputes between citizens, and to serve as the bulwark for the promotion of the orderly development of our nation and for the defense of the liberties and rights of our people. So, to our new justices of the High Court and Court of Appeal, it is important to bear in mind that the growth of our nation demands that we have a judiciary that commands the respect of the people by the nature of its delivery of justice, as well as by the comportment of its judges. It is vitally important that we have judges who are honest, possess integrity, and a sound knowledge of the law. The situation where judges prefer judgments on the basis of decisions from lower courts and cite them as law is not acceptable, and even less so when judges cite no authority at all for their rulings and give orders without reasons. You must be learned, know your case law, and ensure your decisions and judgments are properly motivated. Application of the laws of the land must occur, in the words of the judicial oath you have just taken, without fear or favor, affection or ill will, and therefore without recourse to the political, religious, or ethnic affiliations of any citizen of the land. When a person falls foul of the law, we expect the person will be dealt with accordingly, and the law enforcement agencies, including the High Court and the Court of Appeal, must ensure that this is done. We cannot have development which will bring jobs to our youth without order.
Now, newly sworn-in Justice Lovelace Johnson assured the president she and her colleague will deliver on their mandate.
Of my colleague judges who have just been sworn in as Supreme Court judges, and on my own behalf, I wish to thank the Almighty God for making this day possible. To His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, we say a big thank you for the honor done us by appointing and swearing us into this high office as justices of the Supreme Court. Your Excellency, we are indeed grateful. We want to assure you, and indeed the whole nation, that we will live up to our judicial oath and that is to administer justice to all manner of people without fear or favor. To our families, we say thank you for being there for us and your continued support and faith in us. To our colleagues and friends who are here this afternoon to support us, we say a big thank you.
Still live on JoyNews today with me, Daniel Dazi. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. This is JoyNews today. Now to our next story. And Trades Union Congress earlier this week called on the National Pensions Regulatory Authority to provide proof before supporting the implementation of Tier 2 pension schemes. Now, the TUC says the contributions of workers were not transferred earlier to incorporate or to corporate trustees in order to yield meaningful returns. Hence, they believe there will not be enough lump sums for pensioners. They therefore called for the extension of the implementing of the Tier 2 of pensions pay. But Civil and Local Government Staff Association, CLOGSAG, in a press conference yesterday said the statement made by the TUC is untrue and asked that the date for the implementation of the Tier 2 scheme should not be compromised.
The TUC is claiming that the public sector schemes would require more time to invest workers' contribution before they could reach the level of lump sums equal to or more than what SNIT would have paid. As the TUC is requiring proof before supporting the full implementation of Tier 2 schemes from January 1st, 2020, it would have been fair for the TUC to mention which of the public sector schemes gave that information. Again, Dr. Yaba of the TUC said that the contributions of most public sector workers were transferred from the temporary pension fund account from Bank of Ghana to the corporate trustees just last year, making it impossible for those funds to yield meaningful returns that could meet the expectations of workers and the pensions reforms exercise in general, unquote. This statement is not true. The government started paying directly to custodians of the public sector occupational pension schemes the 5% reductions towards Tier 2 pensions from September 2016. This important gesture from government would not have been skipped if the TUC had established a pension scheme for its members. Again, the 5% reductions towards pensions for private sector workers were transferred to their schemes several years before the transfer of the TPFA to public sector schemes in December 2017, and not last year, as the TUC wants the public to believe. Also, we wish to draw attention to the following: that the statement by the TUC is misleading. The viability of each of the occupational pension schemes could be assessed by the schemes themselves. That none of the public sector occupation schemes had indicated that it needs more time or further extension. Anytime there is an extension of implementation of Tier 2, the monopoly of SNIT in pension administration in Ghana is being perpetuated, and the workers will be better off if competition is introduced into pensions administration. 3, that there will be no compromise on the January 1st, 2020 implementation date. Jobs in pensions was put on the public agenda by civil servants and teachers. And we CLOGSAG, something that we have put, and then it is now an act of parliament. We will not sit down for TUC because of their selfish interest to derail this process.
Away from that, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly says it intends to deploy more Ayalolo buses to convey commuters in and around the Central Business District to ease congestion on the roads during Christmas. Now, the Chief Executive Officer, Ni Ejesoa, made the revelation during an interaction with my colleague, Kojo Yankson, this morning on the Super Morning Show.
To control the traffic, we are also managing the Ayalolo buses.
Yeah.
And we have increased the number of buses also in the city to reduce the number of single occupant vehicles that come into the city, because 70% of the road space has been taken over by single occupant vehicles. And we want to reverse that particular data. So a lot more have been deployed into the city center, and we have over 100 of the buses that are coming from Kaswa to Accra, from Amasaman to Accra, from Adenta to Accra, from Ashiaman to Accra, and from Temba Community 1 through the Beach Road to Accra, and then Sakumono to Accra. So these shuttle services that we are offering people that come into the city center has also significantly reduced the number of vehicles that come into the city, because you have high occupancy buses that is taking a lot of people into the city center and going out. These are major interventions that we are making to control the traffic situation in Accra.
The mayor also assured the assembly would make MTTD personnel available to control the flow of traffic on major roads due to the number of activities which will be held as a result of the year of return. According to him, as far as traffic and security in the capital are concerned, his men have everything under control.
Add that the police are also on top, in fact the security agencies. I'm saying this because, as I indicated earlier, the Zimmer climates the year of return. And this is the period that you are expecting a lot of foreigners to celebrate our Christmas with us. And a lot of bigger activities that are going to happen in Accra. La Boma Beach is going to host event from 27th to 30th. And this concert is going to attract a minimum of 20,000 people to that place daily for the four days.
Wow.
How do you control the traffic situation there? How do you control security over there? Even street lights must be on. So we've started, making sure that our street lights are on, because sometimes the Accra becomes dark. So how do you make sure that? And then next to La Boma Beach is La Pleasure Beach.
Yeah.
There's going to be another concert there also from 26 to 28, and it's also 2 days around the same time, and they are expecting about 12,000 people from there. And some of these events, for instance, the La Boma Beach event, a quarter of the people to patronize are coming from Europe. And my last check indicates that over 3,000 people from Europe have already bought tickets and their package that they are coming to do. So obviously it tells you that the security did. And we have met the National Police Headquarters in charge of operations, Dr. Gariwa. We've been met the National Security Operatives. So in terms of security within the city center, in fact, there's another event, Afrochella, also at Elwak.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is also huge. So within that enclave from Elwak, Usu towards La, there's going to be big traffic. Either to the traffic, it's much more in the Osu and the Central Business District. So the traffic is going to move towards that side. How do you plan to make sure that some of these things are done, if it requires even roadblock and to redirect traffic and all these things? All these things are being done.
Away from that, 30-year-old software developer Selassie Agbavo on Tuesday walked away with 10,000 Ghana cedis in the grand finale of the First National Bank pop quiz. He came out tops after a nail-biting contest with 3 others on the Super Morning Show. Here's a report.
The lead up to the whole finals has been quite hectic. You have to always prepare. And today I'm willing to do my best. I'll try as much as possible.
It started out as a nerve-wracking morning for 4 finalists: Selassie Agbavo, Kwesi Achu Ametepe, Agri Nana Dixon, and Enoch Labi. One could pardon them though. They were 10 questions away from winning 10,000 Ghana cedis. Each of the 4 qualified by answering trivia questions correctly on Facebook, which qualified them to take part in the First National Bank pop quiz on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. After winning daily and weekly contests over a 4-week period, it was time to face off for the grand prize of 10,000 Ghana cedis.
Who wrote the play Julius Caesar?
Shakespeare.
Which First National Bank Ghana check account allows you to earn rewards when you swipe?
The gold accounts or the platinum accounts.
Name one town in Ghana with the monkey sanctuary.
Shy Hills.
What is the largest ocean in the world?
The Pacific Ocean.
Which famous French philosopher said, "I think, therefore I am"?
Next.
3 of them tied with a score of 5 correct answers each. After Aggrey Nana Dixon bowed out, Enoch, Selassie and Kwesi were asked one question. The first person to answer correctly won the money.
Which country is the largest in the world by geographical area?
Russia.
It was all smiles as Selassie walked away with cash and the chance of love.
Please tell Selassie if he's not married, I want to marry him. Why? Congratulations, Selassie. Congratulations, Selassie. How does it feel? Tell me how it feels.
Pretty exciting. At least my hard work paid off. To all my friends and family and God Almighty.
So the $1 million question, but it's worth thinking. What are you going to do with the money?
Oh, I'll invest it.
You'll invest it?
Yeah.
Invest in what?
I'll invest it back into the bank.
The First National Bank Pop Quiz was brought to you by First National Bank in collaboration with Joy 99.7 FM.
Congratulations there to Selassie. And the Supreme Court has, in a unanimous decision, ruled that courts are to sit on weekends and public holidays to deal with issues that affect personal liberty. That brings to an end the age-old practice where persons are arrested and kept beyond 48 hours because weekends and holidays are not counted. The 7-member panel presided over by Justice Sophia Ekufu held that 48 hours means 48 hours. This came at a special ceremony to officially see the Chief Justice off on her retirement. We'll bring you more on this in subsequent bulletins. Up next is Daryl Kwao with the latest in business.